This is Joyce at Delightful Quilting and Sewing, a knitting dealer in Avon, New York. Today I want to talk about something that we all use. Yes, we use a long arm, but we also use something called thread. All different kinds of thread. But today I want to focus in on one particular type of thread, and that is what is called a Trilobal polyester thread. I used it on this one block wonder quilt in my blocks around the outside here. This is some leftover blocks from the one block wonder. Here you can see it a little bit better. The Trilobal polyester is a very interesting fiber. It is a multiple filament twisted thread. That has a high sheen to it, and it is a continuous fiber. In other words, it's not twisted of many fibers like cotton thread is, but it is one continuous fiber made of polyester. And what makes it unique is the shape that it has. Each of the fibers that are twisted together to make the twisted strand here has three sides to it. It is shaped like a triangle, and as a result, it reflects more light, and it gives it that characteristic sparkle. So this is one of the newer ones on the market. This is Affinity from Filtech. This, of course, is Glide. This is a pretty one that looks like gold. This is called Biscotti, is the color of this particular thread right here. And then from Superior Threads, we have Magnifico, which is their solid colors. Very lovely threads. And their multicolor threads here. This is the Fantastico. So many options are available with Trilobal. Also, if you have an embroidery machine, you may be using Trilobal polyester in your embroidery machine instead of rayon, which is what we used at first, because the Trilobal is a much stronger fiber. It is resistant to fading. Chlorine bleach doesn't bother it, so it makes a perfect thread for embroidery of all kinds of projects. So one of the things about using Trilobal polyester thread is when you have your cone on your machine, one of the things that happens to it is when the tension goes off of it, this thread very easily puddles right down. And with one hand here, let me get this out. So if you can see this, when I take the tension off of this, it's puddling around the back side of it, but the thread just puddles right down to the bottom of it. So when you're using Trilobal polyester, that's one of the things to take into consideration. Another thing to take into consideration is when you're winding your bobbins yourself. Because of the high tensile strength of this, it has a very strong tendency to stretch. And as you can see on here, it springs back when you take the tension off of that. And the same thing happens when it's in the bobbin case. So how do we work with something like that? Well, one of the things that I highly recommend is that when you're at the machine, always put a thread net on your cone. I also use a thread net if I happen to fill my own bobbins with any one of these Trilobal polyesters as well, so that it feeds off evenly through the bobbin winder. One of the other things is these tension discs are set pretty strong, and one of the things that I've done to make it more manageable so that it doesn't stretch quite so much when I wind is I've loosened the tension just a little bit on these discs so that the thread can go through smoothly without being stretched and distorted out of shape. So as you're using Trilobal polyester. One of the things that is available for purchase from Filtech are what are called MagnaGlide bobbins. These are pre-wounds that have the glide thread on them. What makes them unique is the back side, the side that goes into the bobbin case. This black little ring around here is magnetic. And this sort of acts like a little brake when you stop sewing. It kind of slows the spin down or stops the spin of the bobbin in the bobbin case. Over the years, I have changed over to using a bobbin case with the chuck spring that has been removed. So this is the typical bobbin case that we use in the knotting machines with a little pigtail on it. And whether your machine has the pigtail or not, or whether it's an L, I have removed the backlash spring that used to live in here. So I bought an extra bobbin case and I took that spring out. The reason I have two bobbin cases is because the little screw that holds that backlash spring in is so tiny it looks like a period on a piece of paper when you're at the end of a sentence. So if you drop it, don't expect to find it. It's probably gone forever. So I have this extra bobbin case that I use with my MagnaGlide bobbins. So when I put them in, the magnetic side goes in, and then you thread it through your bobbin case in the same way. One of the things about the Filtech bobbins is that you can also buy companion color that is just a soft polyester thread. It is a matte finish. It's called Magna Soft, but it also comes in the same magnetic core bobbin. So instead of using the MagnaGlide thread in your bobbin, you can use the same color, but in the Magna Soft. And I often do that. I use something that's the same color, but it's not the Trilobal. That's what I did on the last quilt that I did. This was what I used. On the top, the glide thread, the biscotti, and this one is like two tiny little color numbers off. Looks pretty much the same when you are sewing with it, and that was used in the bobbin. And of course, one of the last things that I always recommend is that you use your toa gauge and make sure that every bobbin, whether it's with a MagnaGlide, the magnetic core bobbins, or whether you've actually wound it yourself, that you use the same number for every single bobbin that you put in the machine. Don't just expect to adjust your bobbin case with one bobbin. Check it with every bobbin and make an adjustment if you need to make sure that your thread is consistently feeding off at the same tension when you're sewing. Well, that's it for today's Tech Tuesday. I hope you have fun and enjoy using your Trilobal polyesters, and if you haven't tried them yet, maybe now's the time. I'll see you next time on Tech Tuesday. Have a great week sewing and quilting.